This podcast is brought to you by the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania.
This Week in Small Business.
And great to welcome back Gene Marks, CEO of the Marks Group and also host of the Small Biz Ahead podcast with The Hartford. Gene, great to talk to you again. Hope you're doing well.
Dan, thanks for having me on. It's great to speak with you as well.
So we're going to spend this time talking about this latest stimulus package and the impact that it's going to have on small business. There's a lot of elements to talk about, but I'll first have you kind of look at this from the 30,000-foot viewpoint of just generally what kind of impact this latest stimulus run is going to have for small business.
So I lost count as to how many, like the specifics, but let me see if I can summarize this for you, Dan. I'm glad you're asking for this 30,000-foot overview. So, number one, there is a second round of Paycheck Protection Program money for those that need it. Number two, forgiveness has changed a lot for anybody. It's been made a lot easier for a lot of small businesses that got Paycheck Protection money. Number three, those economic injury disaster loans from the SBA are now back up and running with special grants for minority businesses. Number four, if you're a minority business, there are lots of opportunities for you to get funding because a lot of money is being targeted towards you. Number five, if you are in the arts industry, and that means theater, actors, agents, performers, anybody connected to the arts industry, there is an enormous grant program for you to get money. This is not forgivable loans. These are grants for people in that industry. I lost count. Let's go number six, which is even if you haven't suffered from COVID in your business and your business has been okay, that's still okay because the SBA now has a new and expanded forgivable loan program for you for all businesses. This is not paycheck protection, but another forgivable loan program that you should know about. And finally, there are some certain tax benefits for businesses that have been expanded into 2021 for a lot of businesses to take advantage of and put money in their pockets. So I think those are like seven big. You asked for a 30,000-foot overview. That's the big overview.
Well, then how do you react to the moves that are being made during this latest round? Have they covered a lot of the problems that we have seen pop up during the prior stimulus runs?
Well, Dan, I have to say this. I think it's all great that they're doing all of this, but and I've been advocating for this online, and I write a lot for The Hill and for other places. Dan, the biggest solution to this problem is customers. The Paycheck Protection Program is a great thing, but it's designed for you to pay your employees, and it's kind of tough for a lot of businesses, even those in the hardest hit industries like restaurants and retailers, to pay their employees when they don't have any employees. You just said that the jobs numbers, all these jobs that were lost in December in the accommodations, industry, there's not a lot of paychecks to protect there. And the reason why is because there's a lot of these businesses have been shut down, or restricted, or significantly limited. And I have a lot of sympathy for our political leaders who are trying their best to make the right decisions, but those decisions are very, very inconsistent. Unfortunately, some of them are politically motivated, and a lot of them are being made off of, right now, incomplete and inaccurate data because we're still in the middle of this mess. And unfortunately, a lot of these small businesses are suffering because of this. So the government aid is certainly helpful, but the best aid that you can give to any small business is to let them finally accept customers because that's what they need.
All right, let me go through some of those points that you mentioned, and I'll start with the arts industry. And for those people that follow it, obviously they know there has been a significant impact when you think about Broadway having been shut down for such a long time. And obviously that's the case with any kind of theater group wherever it is around the country. Obviously, there's been an impact in terms of production of films and TV, during Hollywood. But there are so many smaller elements to the arts industry, individual workers, as you said, that can really benefit from having this type of a loan.
You're right. So I'm glad you're focusing on that because it hasn't gotten the attention that I think it needs. And yet there are so many small businesses that are in this industry. We're talking about people that operate independent cinemas and independent theaters and community arts organizations. We're talking about actors as well as other performers and musicians. Really, the definition of people that are in the arts industry, it's a wide swath. Even promoters and agents are included in this. So, Dan, for all of you guys that are listening right now, if you think that you might qualify, you're part of the arts industry, what you want to look for is called the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant Program. Shuttered Venue Operator Grant Program. You can Google it and you can start keeping track on the SBA's website, the Small Business Administration's website, sba.gov, for information about this program. $15 billion has been set aside for grants, and you can get a grant, your business, if you're in this arts industry, of up to $10 million plus an additional $5 million that you can then use for certain expenses like payroll costs and rent and utilities and PPE for your employees. So just be aware, these are grants. These are not loans. It's just money that you can apply for and get, and big money as well. The only caveat is that if you can't participate in the Paycheck Protection Program, if instead you participate in the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant Program. But I urge you, if you're in the arts industry, to take advantage of that.
Speaking of PPP, one of the things I know we've touched on in the past is the cost that some businesses have incurred during this pandemic to be able to keep people on the PPP, and those costs now are deductible.
Yeah, let's have a very short conversation about this one, Dan, okay? If you're a small business and you were worried about any tax exposure because of PPP, you don't have to worry anymore. There's no tax exposure. Whatever loan you got, if you get forgiveness, it is not taxable. And whatever expenses that you use to apply for forgiveness, they are fully deductible. Yeah. So, before you and I were talking about, oh my God, you have to be careful and we might have more taxes and you got to talk to your accountant. Don't worry about that anymore. You're not going to incur any more taxes because of PPP.
What about those people that have existing PPP loans out, about potentially increasing the amount that they might need?
You're allowed to do that now, which is great news. I mean, you can go back to your banker if you've got a loan. Listen, when a lot of people got these PPP loans in the first round, there were actually two rounds. One was in the summer. But when people got those PPP loans, they were based on certain information that might not have been complete or might not have been completely up to date. If you think that you deserve more money based on your payroll, and you think that, based on your prior calculations, you really could have had a bigger loan, my recommendation for you is to go back to your lender, because they are now allowed to go back to your original loan and increase your original loan based on the formula that you used to calculate, the loan from the beginning. But if you have updated numbers, you should definitely be taking advantage of it. A couple other things to mention on PPP. If you did not get a loan the first time around, you can get a loan now. So, the program is opened again, so you can certainly apply for a new loan. But just be aware that if you apply for a new loan, or even if you want to get a second loan, like an additional loan, there are new requirements. The PPP program is really targeted now to companies that have been affected by COVID. And the requirements are this. You have to have less than 300 employees. You can't be a publicly held company. You can't be affiliated with a Chinese company. You can't be a lobbying firm. And you can't have started up your business after February 15th. The biggest requirement, though, is a revenue requirement. You have to prove to your lender that you suffered a 25% decline in revenue in any quarter in 2020 compared to 2019. So as long as you've got those requirements, in hand, you can then apply for and get a new PPP loan.
I would imagine that the small businesses that were able to make it through 2020, they become even more important as we head into 2021.
They do, and I'm again glad you brought this up. So for those of you listening, that if you're running a business now, you've made it through 2020. Maybe you had a profitable year, maybe whatever, but you're trying to position yourself and looking to grow because, Dan, there will be a recovery at some point, and COVID will be behind us. And what this new stimulus bill has got a really, really great incentive for businesses that are positioning to grow. And let me explain it really quick. The Small Business Administration has got an existing loan program. It's called the Section 7A or 504 loans. They're two separate programs. Right. They've always been in existence. If you apply for a Section 7A or 504 loan, you will get the first 6 months of your loan payments, principal and interest, completely forgiven up to $9,000 per month. You don't have to prove that you've been impacted by COVID. There are no revenue tests. It's just a big incentive for existing businesses to borrow money for their growth. You can use those funds for working capital. You can use it to hire or rehire people. You can use it to buy buildings or property or inventory or a competitor's business. Mm-hmm. The loan terms are anywhere from 5 to 25 years at market rates. You get it through an SBA lender, a bank or a financial institution that offers Small Business Administration loans. They've been incentivized. 90% of the loans are covered by the government. They're still going to make you go through a process for applying, which means that you're going to have to fill out the paperwork and show historical financials and all of that. Yeah. But Jesus, Dan, if you get you get approved for this loan, you get your first 6 months of principal and interest payments completely forgiven. It's a giant incentive that the government is providing to all businesses under 500 people. So I strongly recommend that you consider that if you're looking for more financing.
So what about more support for minority-owned businesses?
So, I've gone back and forth with this because and maybe I'm using wrong terminology about minority-owned businesses necessarily. It's not necessarily minority-owned. It's really businesses that are considered to be located in what's called low to moderate income areas. Okay. And there's a definition for that, but it's basically where the income in that area is anywhere from 50 to 80% lower than like national averages. So, and that's a lot of urban parts of this country. And yes, there happens to be more minority businesses there than not. But it's not necessarily a minority thing. It's a low to moderate income area thing. If your business is located in a low to moderate income area, you are getting priority for these loans. You need to go to your SBA banker. They have had up to $30 billion put aside for them, $15 billion actually for initial loans, another $25 billion for second loans that are supposed to go specifically to people in lower to moderate income areas. Very important. Right. In addition, there are organizations called minority depository institutions and certified development companies and community development financial institutions. They've been given $15 billion to loan out to those companies in these low to moderate income areas, and they're itching to do it. Finally, if you apply for a loan from the SBA, one of their economic injury disaster loans, you can get a $10,000 grant directly from the SBA because you're in a low to moderate income area. Dan, and I don't want to mince words here. If you're running a business in a low to moderate income area, these people they're not calling you. They're not looking to find you.
Sure, yeah.
You have got to pick up the phone and call them and take the initiative because there is money out there for you. You need to take advantage of it.
I guess I'll wrap up with this, Gene, is that we have this round of stimulus, getting going right now. But I think there's an expectation now that we're going to see another round of stimulus, and it may very well be more for small business that they may be looking at, towards the beginning of the spring.
So here's my thoughts, and these are just these are just my thoughts on that, Dan, is that I don't think the government needs to be spending any more on small businesses. I think what the government should and will likely do in this next round is they will be providing a lot of stimulus to states and to healthcare so that, they can get the funding that they need to make sure that they have ample resources to handle COVID cases and recover from this, which obviously that has an indirect impact on a lot of small businesses. The whole point of this process, and it's like I said at the beginning of our conversation, is to try and open things back up and get to normal so restaurants and retailers and other businesses can get customers again, and they don't need any handouts or loans or help from the government. So if the government is going to be spending any money in another stimulus bill, it should be in the infrastructure and the healthcare system in the states to enable these small businesses to reopen so they can get customers. And if, God forbid, people get sick or whatever, there's still issues. There's resources and infrastructure available to help those people, and the businesses themselves can operate efficiently. I walk around Philadelphia right now, and it's just everybody's closed. The restaurants are, they can't have customers indoors.
Yeah.
They need to be able to open back up again so they can get back to work.
Great having you with us again, Gene. Stay safe. All the best to you.
You too, Dan. Thanks for having me on. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Gene Marks, CEO of the Marks Group, and you can also follow him on the host of the Small Business Ahead podcast with The Hartford.